everyone, it's Bria from Mythological Empath, and today we are going to be reviewing Ballad Dagger. Let's get to it. So if you're not sure what this book is, this is a book that was published by Rick Riordan Presents and created by Daniel Jose Older. Written by, and it was published in May 3rd, 2022. So I actually received this book in one of my Owl Crate unboxings. If you're curious about that, the link will be in the description. So I saw this book and I just love the aesthetic of it and the coloring and just everything, and I will be putting the synopsis up if you are curious about that. And so Ballad Dagger is a YA fantasy about music, murder, magic, reincarnated Caribbean gods. So there is a lot to unpack in here. So the lore and the storyline behind this book, a lot of it is inspired by the writer's actual life, where he actually was really into being a musician when he was younger, to having to join the medical field, to eventually writing, and even the culture behind it. This book is the cultures that he grew up in and was born into. So this is very, very deep and very personal book of his. And so the culture consists of pirates, Caribbean centauros, and Semitic Jews. So there's a very big blend of religion and ancient history in this book that blends together into this awesome story. So the characters consist of Mateo, which is the main character here, and then his eventual love interest, Chella. So Mateo is a very nice and sweet boy that was actually homeschooled for quite a bit of his life, living with his parents, not actually living in what eventually ends up being the setting. He ends up moving into Madrigal. I can't remember what age he was, but he was a little bit older. I believe he was still in his teens. He was already in his teens. So he is kind of considered like not totally in sync with everyone, like with the culture and everything, because he grew up hearing about the culture, but he never really lived in it full time for a while, until he ended up being raised by his aunt and her ghost girlfriend. So that's Mateo. And then Chella, on the other hand, even though she doesn't talk much, she is very strong-willed, and her family also becomes a very important part of the plot. Her father is the priest, and her cousin also end up becoming a very important part of this epic story. So what I loved and what I didn't love. So I thought that the writing was very well done. The pacing was pretty good as well. The characters and their development were very well done. Overall, it was a very well written book. I would have to say my only issue with the book is that even though it has amazing culture and they do break it down to the best of their abilities, there's a lot going on in the book, and it's hard, especially as someone that's not familiar with the different kinds of cultures and the area, to keep up with it. It's hard to keep up with the story and keeping up with the cultures all at the same time if you're not familiar with them. So I guess just be wary of that when you go in to read it if you're not familiar. And what would I change about the book? I think I would have developed Mateo's and Chella's relationship a little bit more. I know that that wasn't the main focus of the book, but it felt a little, not fast paced, but when they did start being together, it didn't feel as smooth as I guess it could have been. Though it still was pretty well done. So like not the worst relationship development, but not the best. So we're back with surprise guest, baby. So for Mateo, I'd have to say I really like his character and his arc. My only issue with him is I almost feel like they use the plot device of him being homeschooled and introduced into the culture a little late than everyone else. But I feel like what they should have done if they were going to use that plot device was to start that out with it instead of having him come in a couple years before the story began. It would have been nice if him being homeschooled and then us coming into the book with him coming into this culture, because I feel like it would have been easier to understand the culture if like you were going along with him and finding out all these things, and him being able to be like just as surprised as we are about certain things. I know he was surprised about some things in the book, with the same with us, but not to the same extent. And I feel like it would have been a way smoother transition in the book. So in conclusion, I ended up giving this book a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Like I said, only because I really enjoyed this book, and it was a beautiful mix of music and different cultures and just a life journey. It's a very, very well written book. Like I said, but then I have my little bit of quirks here and there. Like some things could have been written a little bit differently. Some characters could have been developed a little bit different. And things could have been a little less confusing. And even when it comes to the culture, I almost wish, because this is going to be, I believe, a 2-book series, I almost wish that they kind of introduced parts of the culture in this book and then finished in the second, if that makes sense. But yeah, so I think that's all I have to say about Ballad Dagger. I would definitely recommend reading this, especially if you are familiar with the culture, because I feel like it would be a way easier read for you, and it's always fun to explore parts of your world, if that makes sense. I'd have to say my favorite kinds of culture are like Japanese culture. I'm very interested in like Asian culture, and I really love like Scottish and like that area. So even though let me know what you think. If you've read this book, let me know what you think, and let me know what you rated it. And also, if you have any recommendations for me and any other books, any other books you would like me to review. If you disagree with me on my rating, if you think they did something different, or if there's any other issues you had with the book, just let me all know down in the comments. I would really appreciate the support, and I just love to hear people's thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps me be able to continue making content for everyone. And I will be back soon. Bye-bye. Say bye-bye. Say bye-bye. Yeah.